Like white knuckle driving through a Midwest snowstorm, the Guardians are coming home with a winning record on a road trip. We'll talk about that. The offense saving the day, saving the road trip, Slade Cecconi's best performance, and why there's not going to be a change of catcher anytime soon.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's May 8th. I probably shouldn't even say the word snow because you never know what might happen.
We had some in May here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I know Colorado had a big snowstorm, but not here in Ohio. Well, no, last Saturday it did start to have freezing rain. Anyway, you're not here for a weather update. You're here to talk about the Cleveland Guardians 4-3 road trip. Your first place Cleveland Guardians at that on Locked On Guardians, your only daily podcast that covers your team every day from the majors, the minors, the draft, everything in between. He's Jeff Ellis. I'm Justin Latta. And on today's show, we're going to get into how the offense saved the road trip. We'll talk about Slade Cecconi's best start of the year. Kind of a weird metaphor.
It was a day of redemptions, right? For everyone except for Rocchio. He still had a lot of hits.
It was a day of redemption.
But yeah, it was a day for redemptions.
Yeah, we'll dive into the whole catcher situation and why there probably won't be a change anytime soon.
There was never going to be a change anytime soon. Let's be honest.
Yeah, we'll talk about a pitcher that everyone from AAA wants to promote. We'll get into that, and we'll look ahead to the Twins series this weekend on Locked On Guardians. But Jeff, the Guardians offense allowed them to go 4-3 on the road trip. Ironically enough, they won both Slade Cecconi starts on this road trip. The reason they won is because of offense on Friday and Saturday, and then on Thursday. I mean, I guess a little bit Wednesday. They pitched a little better Wednesday, but mostly it was the offense that got things done on this road trip. Who would have guessed, right?
Well, as I said on yesterday's show, I'm batting 0, so I got to make sure to say that it's going to go poorly last night. So Slade would pitch well today, and it happened. And yeah, it was the offense was there, or it was completely non-existent, but it was
no in between.
No in between.
Well, they did have the 3-1 win on Wednesday.
Yeah, they had the one that was kind of a midway point. And I think my bigger takeaway from all of this is I've seen a lot of people talk about like, oh, this team's only good because they play in the Central, or this team is like they're not real. They've been. It's like, yeah, does it help to play in the Central? Absolutely, but there's only 4 teams in the American League that are over 500, and it's not like they've exactly gotten, a ton of wins. What is this? They've gotten 4 wins against Kansas City, and they've lost 3. It's not like they've
only played the Royals.
I know, but I'm saying it's not like they've benefited from, maybe this weekend helps with the Twins, but it's not like they've benefited off the Central. They've faced tough teams. They've had a rough schedule, and they're in first place, and they are a top 4 record in the American League because it's a decent team. Like, it's just funny how much there is this weird corner of the fan base who I feel like are the same people who are hoping Bazana fails, who hope Chase DeLauder gets hurt and want this team to fail. There's a real antagonistic corner that exists out there. But I think it's, they split this series on the road. You're always going to take a split on the road against a division rival in a 4-game split. Yeah, this is great. This was a great road trip. 4-3 I'll absolutely take against one of the other teams that is above 500 in the American League, and then a rival. Like, this was not an easy road trip. Again, it's been a pretty tough schedule, all things considered, and they just keep finding ways to perform. And I'll just go back to the quote I say all the time: good teams find ways to lose. For good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose. Well, they had a few moments where it looked like they're trying to give this away. They keep winning.
Yeah, I mean, I will say in response to the division thing, they would not be in first place in any of their division. So yes, they're not fattening up their schedule, their wins on.
They would be essentially tied with Oakland. It's 1 percentage point.
Okay, they would not be in first place in 4 of the 6 divisions in baseball. So I will say this division still isn't great overall. Like the rest of the teams also have not figured things out, and the White Sox are playing pretty well. They're still, I mean, they're not where they're going to be in a few years, but they're starting to see them move up. The Twins obviously stink. And okay, let's also remember the Tigers too are a giant mess. Like Tarek Skubal is going to miss time. Framber Valdez is a knucklehead. Their bullpen is atrocious. So they've been given a lot of leeway by the division to have these frustrating stretches, right? Like they are surviving where they're at because of the rest of the teams in the division. So yes, they're not fattening
in the
up
American
on
League
teams.
Outside of the East, they'd be surviving, and there's only 3 divisions. They'd be surviving in 2 out of 3 of those divisions.
I mean, they'd be in second place in the NL East. The NL East, by the way, also is terrible. Yeah. It's the Braves. Nobody's over 500. They'd be in last place in the NL Central, and they would be in third place in the NL West, which would be screwed because he'd be trying to beat the Dodgers, which nobody can do apparently. So the NL East is just as bad as the AL Central because the Braves have a really good record because they're a good team, and it shows. But the rest of the division is very crappy.
Brutal.
And your $400 million Mets have 23 losses, which I believe is the most in baseball. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams, Jet, have 23 losses. And one of those teams is the $400 million Mets. So good for them. Good for the New Yorkers.
Money well spent. You can always buy things in free agent. Like, I know people like the Dodgers bought theirs. I think the Dodgers is they built their core and then they add a piece a year. Yes, it is a system that they can take advantage. But
they
Dodgers
also develop internally.
Yes.
I mean, we're getting off topic here, but they traded the ghost of a failed prospect for Gavin Lux. They turned James Tibbs into a great prospect for 3 months of I used to be Dustin May.
Even look at like a trade that worked out. I would argue worked out for the Cubs. The Michael Busch trade. Zaire Hope is quite the prospect now. Like,
and
there's a world where the Cubs are going to regret that deal, even though Michael Busch turned into a good player. They're
both teams can win.
Yeah, I mean they're very good at scouting and they're very good at developing.
Yeah,
I mean turning River Ryan. Yeah, I know.
Guardians here though.
We should, but yeah, this I think, like I said, I'm feeling good after the series. I'll just leave it at that.
How can you not? I mean, you went 4-3 on the road, and I think it's important to point out that when the Guardians went to Sacramento, they were playing very well. A, that's a good offense. B, it's a very tough environment to play in, and as we've seen, so. There's always the saying, too, it doesn't matter who you play, it matters when you play them, right?
Yeah.
The Athletics were playing good baseball when the Guardians went in there, and the Guardians took 2 or 3. They out-hit them in their own ballpark. And then the Kansas City Royals were on a hot stretch when they caught them, too. And they won the first 2 games of the series because the Guardians didn't do good things and couldn't hit. And then the Guardians faced arguably the 2 best pitchers they were going to see in the series. Like, what was the first night? I can't remember who they faced the first night now. And then they faced
Waka.
Okay, well, we kind of chalked that one up because we knew how they felt about or how they performed against Waka. And then they got Steven Kolick, which probably was better than the way Noah Cameron was throwing recently.
Agreed. Yeah, I wish they faced Cameron.
And then you face Cole Reagans, who has not had a great year and obviously is not healthy, but we chalked that up as not a good game for them. They won. And then you face Seth Lugo, who definitely was the best pitcher you faced in this series. And guess what? You had 5 hits and 3 runs in the first inning. This offense is capable of scoring runs when they get things together. When Stephen Kwan gets on base, good things happen. Chase DeLauter, I know a lot of people want to already hand Kevin McGonigal Rookie of the Year, but Chase DeLauter is going to have a lot to say about that before the end of the season. Did Jose have a hit in that first inning too? I think he did, right? Now Jose walked.
He was a
walk
in
the first inning. So yeah, and then Kyle Manzardo comes up and gets a 2-run double. That is how
he's had some big hits with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, and then Sheeman had a hit, Bazana had a hit. I mean, they had 5 hits in the first inning.
But then Rocchio and Naylor both struck out, I believe, which was the kick in the pants.
And they made up for it later.
They did.
They had 2 games this series in Kansas City where they only had 5 hits, or they had a game where they had 4 hits and a game and they had 5 hits, and they had 5 hits in the first inning on Thursday. This offense is capable. Are there black holes in the offense? Yes. The 2 guys that probably had the best days on offense, at least the one, Bo Naylor, the worst hitter on the team, had a big day. It's not going to happen all the time because he just is who he is. But that 3-run homer, when you get contributions from him, and you're not relying on 1 3-run homer like Rhys Hoskins, that's how you win ball games. And thank God, because the middle of the bullpen kind of showed its wart again. But yeah, the offense was good in Sacramento. The offense came through on Thursday. They won. This is why it's so hard to predict baseball sometimes. Like, I know we did the reverse jinx on Thursday and Wednesday night, but like, if you would have told me at the start of this road trip the Guardians were going to win both of Slade Cecconi's starts, I would have said, wow, he really turned it around. And he had like a half a good start on this road trip. So it really was the offense.
When he went 5 1/3 and only gave up 2, I'll take that every time from any pitcher.
we should dive in a little more to that performance. We'll see if there's anything else to tackle when it comes to offense. We do have to talk about Bo Naylor, which we will today. We'll talk about Slade Cecconi. We will get into a pitcher everybody wants to talk about, apparently, the Guardians minor league system. Lots more to come on a Friday edition of Locked On Guardians.
The NHL playoffs are here, where every shift matters, every moment is intense, and the pressure is at its highest. And just like performance matters on the ice, it matters off the ice too, and that's where Rougier comes in. I'm a Columbus Blue Jackets fan. I want to talk about a team who couldn't keep their shift strong and melted on the ice. That was the Blue Jackets, who went from looking like, sure, they're going to make the postseason, to going home early. They definitely did not bring the stick or wood, as it were, at the end of the year. It was some limp play leading to going home early. If you don't want to have those issues, you definitely want to check out Rougier. Head to Rougier.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougier, performance medicine for men.
Thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, because we always bring the wood on this show. Don't got to worry about our offense slumping over here, win or lose. If you are not an everydayer yet, maybe you should be. We get to talk about this team in a private Discord server you get access to. Win or lose, no matter how frustrating things are, how fun they are, we get to go back and forth with Jeff, myself, all the other listeners of the show, fans of other teams. And then you also get an ad-free episode of the show. You miss out on Jeff's great ad reads, but you get to the meat of the content. So check that out at LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes. So I will say, overall, the offense, like Verrocchio had 2 hits. He's also had 2 defensive blunders, and he also got thrown out stealing. Someone's got to stop Brian Verrocchio from trying to steal bases. He's never been good at it. I don't know why it continues to happen. And then,
a few bad defensive issues over like the last week is the bigger thing with him.
Yeah, he didn't get charged with any errors in this one.
He should have had one.
He should have had one. He wasn't going to throw out Bobby Witt, let's be honest. No. But the other one, he would have. Collins isn't a bad runner, but the batting average, you said,
expected batting average was 190, 170 on that. Like that's
But yeah, the Guardians had 11 hits in this game. They had Seth Lugo's pitch count up to 120, I think, by the 4th inning. He left the game, 102. He pitched 4 innings out of 102. I have never seen the Guardians run up a starter's pitch count that high that early. He had 4 walks, 7 hits allowed. They scored 4 runs off the bullpen. So they kept it going. They kept adding on too, which thank God, because we'll talk about the bullpen a little bit. But the Guardians offense came out swinging. They weren't passive. They looked like they had a plan of attack. They looked like they were ready to. Seth Lugo is a hard guy to hit because he throws the kitchen sink. Like, you never know what he's going to throw on any count. I think he calls his own pitches, if I'm not mistaken, too. So the guy's just a really good pitcher. He's been a great find for the Royals over the last couple of years, and they had a good plan of attack in this game.
Ruben Niebla, we can thank him for that.
Yeah, that's right, because he went to San Diego, and then he revived his career after. The Mets also screwed that one too. Yeah, the Mets also messed that one up too. Good job, Mets. Okay, so Slade Cecconi, my God. So after it was 3-0 in the first inning, I texted you and I said, "Oh, don't worry, Slade Cecconi is going to give it all back," because he had a double and then 2 walks, and then somehow he pulls a route out of his hat and gets out of the inning. Not a great performance, if you look under the hood.
They never are.
No, it haven't been this year. He only got 2 swings and misses, so he wasn't really fooling anybody. But he had, 19 called strikes. His fastball velocity was still in line, I should say, for everything else. I didn't really see a difference in approach. Like, he threw the same exact pitch mix he's been throwing all year. Mostly 35% fastballs, mid-20s in the cutter, teens of sinkers, low teens of curveballs, and about 10% sleeper. So his pitch mix was literally the same as it's been all year, and he's been getting whacked on that pitch mix. And he only walked 1 batter through the final 4 1/3 innings that he pitched, so that's good. He got an out in the 6th inning, so that's progress. It wasn't pretty. He gave 7 hard hit balls. That was more like the Slade Cecconi we saw a year ago, though, right? Where he gave up a lot of hard contact.
Yeah.
Maybe the control today wasn't as good as it was a year ago, but that was like a Slade Cecconi 2025 result where it didn't look pretty, but it did the job.
No, I agree. It's, as much as everyone wants to rush to replace him, it's like, I don't know. I think it works as a 5. Like, I don't think you can't have a whole set of, the star pitchers. Like, you have to have someone who's every team's got a back end starter or 3 in their rotation. So I think he pitched well enough. It is kind of funny that they didn't let Cantillo go into the 5th, but they let Cecconi go into the 5th. So, or into the 6th, I should say.
Yeah, that's weird. They had a bigger lead at the time, didn't they? It was 4. It was 4 to 1.
Yeah, I think it was bigger than the other game, but yeah, still, it's just that situation where, he did enough. Like, I don't know if there's a separator pitch in there. I don't know, maybe eventually you do look to replace him, but people keep bringing up Austin Peterson or Maltrude, and those guys aren't going to be this stuff isn't any better. So it's like, this is much like the Bo Naylor situation. Like, what you see is what you get. Like, we're not going to see a departure for, I think, anyone in AAA anytime soon.
No. I mean, Austin Peterson probably gives you, Austin Peterson's a very similar pitcher, right? Like, he probably has better extension than Cecconi. Cecconi's not a big extension guy, if I can remember right. Yeah, so he's not a big extension guy. Peterson does that well, but Peterson's velocity is lower than Cecconi's. Yes. Like, Cecconi averaged 93 today. That's about where Austin Peterson tops out. This is nothing against Austin Peterson. I think he ends up being a nice fill-in starter. You and I were both a little bit higher on him last year, and you got to AAA, and you kind of learn how that stuff works. It's a big separator. I don't think he has an out pitch either.
Yes.
In his arsenal.
The changeup is really deadly in the lower minors, but it's it was able to work in the lower minors.
Yeah, it's one of those weird power changeups that he throws in the high 80s, which, like, he's got a lot of pitches too, and he's a guy who relies a lot on command and control, which again is very Slade Cecconi. So you're not, even if you did make that change, you're not getting a big upgrade from a rookie who is the same age as Slade Cecconi, by the way, and has yet to make his debut for a reason. I do think Peterson again ends up being has a decent major league career, whether it's a reliever or a spot starter or whatever it is, long man. But you're not getting a major upgrade. And then again, I mentioned this the other day. Logan Allen walked 6 Iowa Cubs the other day. I don't know if Logan Allen's the guy you want in that spot. The guy you really want there, it's unfortunately not going to happen this year, even though I'm wish casting it, is Cal Steven. But Cal Steven, that's not happening probably at all this year, and if it is, it's like August or September.
Would have been maybe Gomez for some spot starts here or there,
and now he's got a shoulder issue.
Yeah,
late in the year it's been Lively late in the year.
Yeah, the name people kept bringing up in the comments and on Twitter is everyone got very excited because Roderick Maltrude has a very low ERA, but we'll talk about it a little more, but he does a lot of things Peterson does, but he's not the prospect level that Peterson is. And you can't be, if you're striking out under 7 guys per 9, under 20% of batters in AAA, that's kind of just a sign that it's going to be extremely hard for that player to translate. Like in baseball anymore, with all the free swingers, you have to miss bats. And if you're not missing them in AAA, that's typically, he's a great kid, great organizational soldier. I get it. He kind of looks like Travis Bazzana, so people are excited about that. But ERA is not a way to evaluate any pitcher in the minors.
No, it's definitely not. Obviously, if you have a good one, that's better than having a bad one. He doesn't walk guys. Like, he does have good control. The slider is a decent pitch for him. He gets a good amount of ground balls. I guess that's the best thing he does is he keeps the ball on the ground and he doesn't get barreled. He's having a nice season. Like the ERA, like you're right, the ERA is low, doesn't miss bats. Everything else is good. He's getting a lot of soft contact, which is great.
The FIP says that it's going to go up too.
Yeah. But Maltrude, like he tops out at like 90, 92, 93. He just doesn't have a swing and miss pitch. Like I think what you're looking at with Maltrude is if he ever does make the majors, is a Kirk McCarty or Tanner Tully like career where those guys were emergency call-ups and they were good organizational soldiers for a couple of years and they got their cup of coffee. That's probably what you're looking at. Like we were talking about Ben Lively, and I looked at Ben Lively. I was like, oh, maybe Ben Lively doesn't throw that hard, right? He doesn't miss a lot of bats, but Ben Lively
did in AAA,
the minors, Ben Lively struck out, what was it, close to 25% of batters in AAA, and Rorik Maltrude sitting here striking out 19%. Yeah. He's also 26, and Ben Lively was already in the majors by age 25. So again, nothing against Rorik Maltrude. Look, I'm not sitting here saying anything bad about him. It's just it's not the guy you're hoping to call up and be the replacement for anybody in the rotation.
Yeah, people asked us to talk about him. I know it's not what people want to hear, but again, great kid. He has put in the effort. He has put in the time. I didn't expect him to even get to AAA based on some of his early performances in the minors. So it's a great job to even get to the point where, like, hey, he might get some cups of coffee. But again, you have to look at the whole picture. ERA is not an evaluative stat, especially in AAA. So look at the whole picture, and that's going to better kind of give you an idea of if a guy is going to be considered an option.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of AAA players, we'll have to talk about Cooper Ingle because this keeps coming up as well. Bo Naylor had himself a good day. How much more time did he just buy himself? We'll talk about that next on today's Locked On Guardians. Well, if you're looking to make a hire under pressure and you're dealing with workplace chaos, maybe your inbox is just overgrown like a weed. You need Indeed sponsored jobs. It helps you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for. They have the skills, the experience. They're not just hoping the right candidate comes across your post randomly. And in the minute we've been talking, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Why? Because they're spending less time searching. They're spending more time interviewing candidates to check their boxes. They're cutting down on their stress, and they're getting more results. That could be you at your workplace. But if you're a listener of Locked On Guardians, you get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status that it deserves on Indeed.com/podcast. And if you go to Indeed.com/podcast right now, tell them that you heard about it on Locked On Guardians. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms apply. Conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And as I mentioned before, thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and everywhere but you get podcasts. I have not looked at the most recent numbers, but I know we are creeping up in the area of 6,000 subscribers. So we'd like to get to that round number. So make sure you hit the bell on YouTube as well when you're subscribing. And as always, auto download on all your favorite audio platforms. Take the show with you wherever you go, so you never miss an episode. I'm sure Rorik Maltrude's parents will not be subscribing, but that's okay. I understand. He's a AAA, and he's having a great year at AAA as far as ERA is concerned, and that's better than 99% of people are ever going to do at baseball, and there's no shame in that. And if we're wrong, that's even better, because then something, a miracle happened, and the Guardians end up with a good pitcher. I don't know. That's the best I can say. So Bo Naylor, the Guardians would not have won without that three-run homer, and I'm sure that three-run homer felt great for Bo Naylor. He raised his WRC plus today, Jeff, because I know you asked me to look for this.
He was at a 6 to enter the day.
He's now at 22. He more than doubled it.
More than tripled it. He almost quadrupled it.
He almost quadrupled his WRC plus in one day. We should really give him a big one for that one. So good for Bo Naylor. But yeah, they don't win the game without that home run. So that's important.
Agreed.
Cooper Ingle had another fantastic day at AAA. He had a home run. What did he have? 3 hits, I think, today in the Clippers game. The home run he hit was 102 off the bat. He had a 103 mile an hour single, and he had a 97 mile an hour single, which is probably the top end of his exit velocity, which is like 102. Look, Cooper Ingle is going to be in the big leagues at some point. There's no question about that. And again, I think people keep getting like frustrated with us saying, why don't they just call him up? And you keep saying, well, if that profile doesn't work, what's the point? Could this profile work? I mean, maybe like, and the reason we keep bringing this up is people keep asking about it because Cooper Ingle is having a great time at AAA, and he is a good prospect. So the fact that he's playing well at AAA while we're looking at other guys who are like, oh, this is not good. Again, 480 batting average on balls in play, not sustainable. Even Aaron Judge doesn't carry a BABIP that high. He's also got a 33% walk rate because, again, I want to stress, he swings at less than 27% of pitches. Yeah. Juan Soto is the most passive hitter in Major League Baseball, and he swings more than that.
I'm going to point out Cooper Ingle
is not Juan Soto, by the way.
When you look at a heat map, you got your bottom three zones, your middle three zones, your top. The right top zone, he hasn't even swung at one pitch there. He hasn't swung at one pitch in that zone because partially guys aren't putting a lot of balls in that zone. But if he's not even going to swing there, that's going to happen. And on top of that, he can't hit a ball down the middle. That's one of the interesting and weird things with this data. He's doing well with kind of inside and sawing things off. And you look at things like his expected batting average, and it's really high in some areas, but he is passive to such a degree that it works in AAA. And this whole conversation we are having now. Pause the podcast, go back and download our episodes from before Bo Naylor debuted. Like, go listen to the ones we're talking about Bo Naylor in AAA and people screaming for him. And we're talking, similar too about, hey, the defense isn't there yet. He's made some great improvements, but we were more effusive. That's the word I want. We were more effusive because Bo had slightly better tools. The extreme passivity it doesn't work. And the extremely high walk rate is just a big indicator. And he could be successful. I mean, he's still a top 10 prospect for both of us, but anyone expecting him to come up and be a star or come up and be the next evolution, I think is a lot to ask with what we're seeing. And that's also why, let's be honest, Bo Naylor didn't buy himself any time today because he wasn't on the clock. He was not. Yeah. He's not, as much as people are annoyed, he's not coming up. Huff, Cody Huff is a nice
there's
depth
no spot
guy.
On 40 right now.
Yeah, and Ingle and Huff aren't coming up. And Cody Huff was last year a second year Rule 5 eligible, I think. So it's these are guys that have been known around the league. And like I said, Ingle, as you said, he could turn into a useful player. He could be a unicorn, but traditionally when we see these profiles, it just doesn't translate.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I know everyone's going to say, God, you guys are so negative. The Guardians won, and you're just crapping on all their prospects. Maltrud's not a prospect, and Ingle is a prospect. And he is going to have a major league career. And I don't want to sit here and act like we're crapping on the guy because we had him on the podcast. He's a great dude, and I think he's got talent. He's got an incredibly quick release as a catcher throwing because he doesn't have the strongest arm, but the release really helps make up for that. He does know the strike zone. It's not like
he does.
He's not just not swinging. He definitely doesn't swing at balls, but he also just is not swinging a lot in general. And I want to go back to the stats I was pointing out before. I filtered down to 50 plate appearances last year. So let's even go small sample size, Jeff. The most passive hitter in the league last year at 125 plate appearances was Jonah Bride. He swung at 33% of pitches in the majors. In the minors, Cooper Ingle's only swinging at 26% of pitches overall. And I think we should also be fair that we know there is a big delta between AAA pitching and the majors. So there's a very good likelihood. This is why you have to watch the games too. You can't just look at the stat lines because there's a very good chance Cooper Ingle is just seeing garbage pitching. There's a good chance he's seeing guys at AAA who don't have control or command. Maybe they're guys that, we've talked a lot about how the Guardians pitching prospects have gotten to AAA and struggle with control and command because of the new baseball. Maybe Cooper Ingle is facing a lot of those guys who are having the same issue. So yeah, you don't want him swinging garbage pitches. That's one of the biggest problems we have with the Guardians the last couple of years is you had the Ahmed Rosarios, the Oscar Gonzalez's, the Giankenzie Noels, and even to an extent, Josh Naylor. swinging, and Tyler Freeman swinging at pitches that you can't do anything with. And that doesn't mean you're striking out. It just means you're hitting an 87-mile-an-hour ground ball to the second baseman or shortstop. It doesn't do anybody any good either. So there's a very good chance that the Cooper Ingle's also facing that, but not to the extent of 33% walk rate. Like, nobody walks that much in the majors ever. Like Aaron Judge, Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn was like the first ever 3 true outcome guy that we really embraced. Like, Aaron Judge's walk rate this year is 18-something%, or it was last year. Let me go to 2026 now. Sorry. Okay, Nick Kurtz, 21% walk rate in the majors. Do we think Cooper Ingle is Nick Kurtz? Do you think he's Mike Trout? Do you think he's Taylor Ward? Austin Martin? Well, Austin Martin, not a great example. Those guys are all carrying 20% walk rates. Those are going to come down. Okay, those are going to come down. Nobody carries that high of a walk rate in the majors. Like you said, it was the same as Bo Naylor. So, again, this isn't all to say that Cooper Ingle's a bust. He's not a good prospect, blah, blah, blah. The whole point of this is that, yes, things are not going well with Bo Naylor. We've said it time and time again. Like, we did that episode. Well, I think I was sick during that week, and we said, oh, actually, Bo Naylor's Savant page actually looks really good. He's getting unlucky. And then his page came back to earth to what he's always looked like after the sample size got bigger, as Jeff pointed out. So neither of us think that Bo Naylor is the future catcher for the next 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know if Cooper Ingle is either. Do I think he can have better than a 22 WRC plus? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But I think the whole underlying point here of why Cooper Ingle is not in the majors and why he's not coming in the majors anytime soon is it's defense, first of all. And that's not to say Cooper Ingle's not a good defender. He can be. There are things he does very well defensively. It's like when you complain about the umpires. I know I'm ranting and raving. Sorry, Jeff. But okay. It's like with the umpires, right? They have a really good union. So even when you think they're terrible, they never get fired. Bo Naylor, not a good major league hitter. He has a rapport with the pitching staff. There are defensive things he does well. He's got a stronger arm than Cooper Ingle.
Framing.
He's good. He's a good framer. Cooper Ingle the framing is okay. Could be better. I will say Cooper Ingle's done a great job in the minors with the ABS challenge, whereas Bo Naylor has not. We didn't talk about that today. Both teams were out of challenges by the third inning. What a mess that was. The familiarity with the staff is so important to this team, especially in May, June, July. If this team gets to August and they're out of the race, then yeah, they can afford to bring up Cooper Ingle because it's not going to matter. They can let him get his feet wet against major leagues, let him build a rapport with the pitchers. But right now, he hasn't caught Gavin Williams. He hasn't caught Tanner Vibe. He hasn't caught really Joey Cantillo that much. He hasn't caught Slade Cecconi. At least not major league game that matters. The familiarity is really important to this team. And the rapport and the game. I know the game calling is not great, but they just value the position familiarity so much that they're not willing to upset the apple cart for a guy that's maybe a fringe average defender at best, even if he could be a 20% better hitter. Did I say enough there, Jeff? Did I say enough words?
I think it just comes down to the low exit velo with the high walk rate and some of the swing issues make him a big risk. And this team values catcher defense to such a high degree that, it just doesn't feel like they're going to make that type of move anytime soon. And I understand why people are frustrated because it is frustrating having the worst hitter in baseball on your team. But, and again, I feel like I was too negative as well. There's a reason why, but there is a reason why Cooper Ingle went from like 5th on my list to 9th, even though he just keeps hitting the smack out of the ball. And that's because of all the surrounding data and just that. And, I hope he does get called up at some point this year because he's got to get out of the 40-man anyway. So, give him a look. He might be more of a future David Fry-esque hitter is what I'm saying than your future catcher. But I think there's value in that. And he's got a pathway to be a solid player.
Mm-hmm. He does.
In
absolutely.
Kind of a multi-use role. I think that is his best future.
And I also think that the fact that Cooper Ingle not being up doesn't have as much to do with what he can or can't do as it is the Guardians. They find the familiarity and the relationship.
No, you're right.
So important. So, Cooper Ingle isn't doing anything wrong. It's not, again, we're not saying he's doing bad. Obviously the numbers say he's doing great. I think the thing we're trying to point out here is that expecting him to come up and be like, I don't know.
It's hard for anyone to come up and excel. And then,
or he ends up being one of those rookies you always talk about where they have like the best run of their career in their rookie year. And then they never
almost all rookies is what we've seen.
But like him coming up, he's not going to be like, Adley Rutschman was in his rookie year or Shane Langoliers. Like it takes time. And yes, again, the whole reason he's not up really has a lot more to do with their trust in Bo Naylor and Austin Hedges as defenders than it does Cooper Ingle. If Cooper Ingle was right-handed, it might be a different story. Could be a different story.
But then they wouldn't have drafted him. So then it wouldn't have.
That's true too. They wouldn't have drafted him. Yeah, Austin Hedges is lucky to have a job because he hits on the wrong side of the plate. Anyway, I hope Cooper Ingle don't come after us. We love you. Nothing personal. The Ingle family, again, Rourke Malcher too. Same thing. I know he just like ranted and raved against a bunch of players, but we like Cooper Ingle, and we're just saying not right now. We're not saying never. We're just putting him in the friend zone,
from which he shall never escape, because no one escapes the friend zone. But you can all be our friends out there. You know how to be an everyday.
I hope you still want to be our friends.
Yes. Thank you for making this episode your first listen. And, make sure you have automatic download set, do all the fun things.
Guardians
what to do.
Will go 2 or 3 against the Twins this weekend. And then
I got to push hard and say they're going to go 0 for 3 because they've done the opposite for the past few days, whatever, if anything I say. So I'm going to say 0 for 3 so they can win 3 games, and they're going to call up Cooper Ingle tomorrow because of what I've said. So that's, you can all thank me when tomorrow's announcement for Roderick Motrud and Cooper Ingle, as well as the 3-game sweep. So I have to say they're going to lose every single game based on what has gone on recently. In spite of me being always wrong, thank you for listening to my rants and raves. And as always, go Guardians, go.